Welcome back, WNST. As the Ravens got the job done in Oakland, we'll see if they can do the same on my birthday weekend this weekend as the Bears come to town. So we'll be checking out a lot of our old friends from my Chicago Mafia out there at Sporting News Radio and 101 Sports, and my old pals from the Windy City. We'll be checking in throughout the week. This guy's an old pal of ours from the basketball circuit, but he also does golf down at Compass Point. You can follow his journey at Buckets and Birds. He usually comes on and does a little golf chat with us, but we're getting out of golf season. It's like real golf season for the people who play it, but not the people who watch it. Robert Kennedy joins us now, again from Compass Point. He is Buckets and Birds out on Twitter. We're going to do some birds very, very quickly and get to the buckets as we got Midnight and Moonlight Madness is coming here. And, of course, we want to brag on our incredible partnership now with Coppin State. We're going to be running their games. The Juan Dixon Show is going to be here at WNST week after week. So we're getting into things here and rowing the boat. Robert Kennedy joining us live via satellite from funky Pasadena, where he does golf sales for a living down at Compass Point. Quiet weekend in golf, right? I mean, they're still out playing tournaments, but nothing that most people are watching college football, NFL football, or playing golf at this point, right, Robert?
Right, Nestor. Yeah, I guess you could say the must-see golf kind of ended a week ago after a good run of the 4 weeks of the playoffs and then the President's Cup. And even though the official start to the what they call the wraparound 2017-18 season started this past weekend with Brandon Steele winning out in Napa Valley, probably more people showed up for the wine than the golf, I would imagine, out there.
Well, Mickelson showed up too, so that brought him in, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and he played well and got off to a good start, for his season. And so, there was golf for the diehards that wanted to watch it. I watched some of it, flipping back and forth between the football games and the and whatnot, and the baseball playoffs. So, it's still there to be seen. They'll play in Malaysia this week. Justin Thomas, interesting enough, won it last year, and he'll be there to defend. So there'll be a big name for that one in Malaysia. But for the most part, until January, there's really not going to be any tournaments to catch the eye of the casual golf fan and everything when they begin their calendar year season out in Hawaii the first few weeks of January. Then that's when it really gets in full force.
Now, there was like a little piece of news about like amateurs and kids being allowed into the U.S. Open. Like, fill me in on this, man.
Yeah, that's interesting. Just announced by the USGA this week that they're going to give an exemption starting next year into the U.S. Open for the U.S. Junior Amateur Champ and the U.S. Mid Amateur Champ. So the junior one's the one that's really quite interesting. So that means basically, I think the cutoff for a junior is 17. As long as you haven't had your 18th birthday, you're eligible to play in it. So there's going to be a 17, 16-year-old out there teeing it up on a 7,800-yard course, against the pros. And it's kind of interesting. Since Tiger back in the late 90s as a junior, won the junior several years in a row, there really hasn't been anyone that's competed, with the pros. There was a kid a few years ago, Bo Hostler, who actually made it into the Open via qualifying. He went to his local qualifying and went through the steps, which is the way most amateurs make it in. And he made it in as a 17-year-old high school student from Texas. And he's actually playing on one of the on the web.com this year. So it'll be interesting to see. And then the mid-amateur guys that have real jobs who, they're the college players who didn't make it on the PGA Tour. They go out and got real jobs and still play. And, they're likely to compete. There's some of those guys that, that were good enough. But, the junior is really curious. It'll be interesting to hear a lot of talk about, how that'll play out and everything.
Robert Kennedy can be found at Buckets and Birds. Basketball is your big thing, and obviously the next 4 to 6 months here, depending how late you go into April. Local basketball. Now, we are proud to announce our relationship with Coppin State, and of course we're going to have Juan Dixon on, and going to be broadcasting their games at WNST.net as well as at AM 1570. Local teams this year, and where we are with Loyola and Morgan and Towson and Coppin and of course UMBC, who's been a partner of ours for a number of years, all trying to climb the mountain. And I know these are your favorite gyms in the area for sure, right?
Oh, absolutely. I follow all of them pretty regularly, and I think this year it's going to be. It's really tough to say going into right now. Who's going to be the favorite to have the best season of them. I think UMBC comes off the top of my head that they're definitely one to get your attention with, building on the success they had last year on the Ryan Odom and with the new gym coming there. Towson, of course, is always, you know, in the Pat Scarry area, the last 6 years has kind of been the class of that group. And one thing Towson does well, which I like, is they play all the local schools. I mean, they pretty much play a round-robin schedule of all those schools. Most of the others will play one or two, but Pat, you know, Scarry comes from the beliefs that, you know, having the local schools playing them all is good for the area. And I would love to see them someday. I guess prior to my time, there was a Battle of Baltimore tournament that they used to have many years ago.
So many years ago, I remember it vividly, man. But it was usually, you know, it was 4 out of the 5 teams. Somebody was always sort of left out of the rotation on that.
Yeah, so I mean, I know with the scheduling being tough and everything, it's probably tough to do that nowadays. And so many of them go to these, you know, everywhere you look, pretty much during November and December, the schedules are littered with these holiday tournaments. You know, Towson will, you know, be playing in a couple of them, and one of them even is over in Ireland. You know, they're going over there to play a couple games, and pretty much every school puts those on their schedules, you know, to play every year, and so that would make scheduling something local probably a little bit tough. It would be cool to see, but yeah, I'm excited to see what Dixon does at Coppin. They really, I mean, you know, it'll be interesting to hear what he says. I'll get a chance to meet with him next week as well at a local media basketball day. But I mean, they've gone and scheduled. I don't know if he did it or if it was done before he got there, but they're going to play Oregon, Cincinnati, Georgetown,
but that wasn't that. Fang did that too. Fang took the team on the road out in the Midwest. They were always playing Oklahoma. They were always playing down in Texas. They were always playing money games and taking big schools on early in the season. That wasn't unusual for Fang.
No, that's true. They did, and you know, when you know, as far as the key there, you said was money games. And you're right. That's with the schools of these size. You know, that's how they're going to get their you know, build their budgets. You know, to fund everything. And you know, they're not you know, none of these schools really are football schools at all, outside of, you know, Maryland locally. So they don't really have the big revenue that they're generating from those football games. So they've got to go play these money games. They've got to find other ways to generate that revenue, you know, through other than just ticket sales and sponsorships. So yeah, it's something they all do. You know, Maryland, Towson played Maryland a couple years ago. I think Loyola is going to be going there this year. So it's, you know, the non-conference season for these local teams is really fun. You know, you get to see them play in some of these big tournaments and how they compare against some of the bigger schools. Well,
it's the only chance you have to really make a lot of noise. You go on the road. I mean, I'm still talking about Towson beating Louisville 25 years later, right? I mean, we remember the Chaminades because of that reason. So putting the Giants on the schedule, I mean, you know, even if you lose a buzzer beater somewhere at Oregon, you feel good about going, right?
Absolutely, and you're right. That's, you know, that's their chance to get some national notoriety, and you know, most of these schools aren't going to be in the position where they're in position for at-large bids at the end of the season. So it's really not going to help their, you know, RPI and everything. But it's definitely going to get them on Sports Center for, you know, 24 hours as far as the highlights go and everything. So it's great for them. It's great exposure. It's a great recruiting tool for the coaches. You know, that they can tell kids locally, yeah, hey, we're going to go play in front of 20,000 people at Texas or Oregon or, you know, Georgetown, something like that. So it's great. It'll kick off November 10th, the season, but you know, there's a lot to be seen. Looking forward to what Loyola is going to do as well. They've got a program they're rebuilding there since joining the Patriot League a couple of years ago. So it's an exciting time of year.
What about the Terps? We haven't mentioned the big school and the big banana around here going into the Big Ten, and obviously Big Ten football season's been a little choppy run. You know, you get your hopes up after Minnesota, then you know, Ohio State goes out and toys with you and just kicks you around. That was a hell of a loss for them over the weekend, but I know basketball season being around the corner, it's kind of tough to look at the Big Ten and say who's going to be where, especially when some of the better players, you know, the Swanigans and those guys have moved out the side door now, right?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see Maryland. You know, they've got the 3 freshmen that'll be coming back. I think it was a key that Justin Jackson, you know, whether he seriously ever was going to leave or not. But, you know, there was some question. But, you know, him coming back along with Cowan and Herter and, you know, is going to be a great nucleus for them as sophomores. And, yeah, the Big Ten, I mean, Michigan State got a couple of their big players back that, you know, some people thought might leave. So I think they may go in as a number 1, preseason favorite in the Big Ten. But, as Maryland has shown the last few years. I mean, in the Big Ten for basketball, they're there to compete and win, and they're as good as anyone. And they'll pick. They have a couple. What am I trying to say here? Good non-conference seasons. They got Butler coming in for a non-conference game early in the season, which will be good.
And nothing super sexy. No Alaskas or flying off and playing in that gym down at the Rock Casino in Cancun. There's not a whole lot of that going on. It's more keeping a nose down to business. I mean, hey, the Big Ten's tough enough, especially with the kind of travel they have to do. I think that's the thing with the Terps over the last couple of years. When they have to get on planes or go out to Iowa in the middle of the night, that's different than going to Greensboro.
It is, and with their conference season, you're absolutely right. There's so much more difficult travel than there used to be on the East Coast. So they get a lot of that. You're right, during the January and February time. So they've got the Big Ten ACC Challenge, where I guess they'll be going up to Syracuse this year. They do have one tournament they're playing down in Destin, Florida, over the Thanksgiving weekend, I believe, where they'll play St. Bonaventure and another school to be determined down there. So that'll be their too big away from home type games. So, but other than that, they're staying pretty close to home and loading up against the teams that you should expect to see them beat: the Randolph-Macons, Maryland Eastern Shore, and the whatnot.
Athletes in action.
Exactly. And then the Big Ten season, in January will obviously kick off. So.
They're going to roll the ball out in a couple of weeks. We got Coppin State action here. We are the flagship for that, and also Juan Dixon's going to be joining us on a weekly basis. So I'm looking forward to talking to a Terps legend about Coppin State sports as well. Big thanks for their partnership. Robert Kennedy can be found down at Compass Point. He is Buckets and Birds out on Twitter. He does a little golf and a lot of college basketball. We'll be talking college basketball with him throughout the fall and into the winter. Tell everybody what you do down at Compass Point, because I know you got craft beers and my birthday's this week, and we got things happening down there in the fall. You keep it busy down there on the golf course in Pasadena.
We do. The fall, winter, we're a year-round golf course. We don't close up for the winter as long as there's not snow on the ground. It's open to play. Year-round. So, granted the weather, in January may not be like October weather, but, throw a few layers on and you come out and the courses aren't crowded. Take advantage of some low rates and, not a crowded course. So that's good. We, heading into the time of year where we'll have a lot of, specials, that make great Christmas gifts. It's not too early to think about Christmas shopping yet, so whether gift cards, for the golfer, boyfriend, husband, wife, girlfriend, that you want to give.
See, when you're a golfer, though, if your game stinks right now, you can just say, it's my putting. I need a new putter, right? I mean, you can find a need for a new gift when you're a golfer, right?
Oh, I always find that need myself. Absolutely. It's never your ability you want to blame it on. It's always think there's a new magic club out there that's going to save a couple strokes for you. Whether it's the putter or the driver that's going to get you 5 more yards, and the irons that are going to hit it 10 feet closer, absolutely. And we can order all those for anybody. They make great gifts, so we have great pricing and everything. So
I'm going to try that around here. My show sucked. It was the microphone's fault, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we have a great pro here. You can give lessons and everything. So a lot of stuff going around. CompassPointGolf.com. You can reach us via that. Get on our text list. That's the keep up to date with everything that's going on that way. Or we have a Facebook page as well, just like everyone else.
Hey man, hit him straight this week out at Compass Point. We'll see you very, very soon with some media stuff and some college basketball as we are now rolling our sleeves up. Man, crazy we're getting into that, right? We got hockey this weekend, baseball playoffs, football's in full swing, and here comes basketball. Robert Kennedy is Buckets and Birds. You can find him down at Compass Point in Pasadena as well, somewhere between the 1st and the 18th hole, somewhere in between. You can find me out on the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day. Very easy to find us at WNST.net. Download the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. Our morning newspaper delivers to your email inbox at 7 a.m. That's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. You get on our WNST text service, you're always going to get the breaking news first and best. It's always brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. That is the SSV on WNST. Personal personal note, big thanks to everybody out there that shared some love with my wife and I on the addition to our family and our new little kitty, Nayla, that we have brought into our home from Be More Humane. So some folks were commenting on our Facebook and our social media all weekend. So, yes, it's been fun to be around here this weekend. It's also fun when the Ravens win in Oakland, and I don't have a 6-hour flight the next day to get through it. So we're here all week. We are replacing our live purple shows and swabbing for the Bone Marrow Registry and for There Goes My Hero. We'll have some more details on that hopefully later on in the week. It is my birthday week. I go into the Dundalk High Hall of Fame next Friday. We'll be celebrating for all my Dundalk friends on the 20th, so you want to hold that date as well. And if you ever need me, nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.